Okay, back for the next Gren Twigs video. Where we left off last time, we were trying to persist the count in our little clicker app to local storage. And we got as far as pulling it from local storage, but we're not actually setting it. But for this video, I'm going to cover error handling, because if you remember, this ultimately ends up with a message coming to our update function that holds a result, the result of that attempt to get something from local storage, which could potentially be an error. In our update function, we're handling that. Gren forces us to handle that, but the way we're handling it is by doing nothing, which is probably fine for an app like this. But if you want to know, what does it look like if I actually do want to surface an error to the user? I'm going to show you. So I'm going to persist the error, the potential error on my model, which means I have to hold more than one value. So I can no longer just alias an int. I need to alias a record. That record will still have a count, which is an int, but it's going to have an error. Well, it might have an error. So I need something that could hold an error or hold nothing. That is going to be a built-in type in Gren. If you go to the packages.grenlang.org and the core package down here by error handling, we know about result. So maybe is similar. It's got a type variable, so this could be a maybe int or maybe string or maybe whatever, in which case the variants are going to be just an instance of that value or nothing. In our case, we're going to say this will hold maybe, and it'll be some custom error type that I'm about to write. So I'm going to go ahead and write that. And I'm making my own type here because I want to handle all the potential errors that could happen in using my own interface. So the errors here are in web storage, and we have no value errors, read blocked, like if it's disabled, write block also if it's disabled, and quota exceeded, which I think means that the local storage is full. So we're going to cover, let's say that's probably 3 variants that I want: the no value case, the storage disabled, and storage full. Okay, now we have a bunch of, I went ahead and saved it even though I wasn't done because I wanted the compiler to kind of help me figure out the next steps. And the next step is I have a bunch of code that's treating the model as an int, and it's not an int anymore, it's a record. So I'm just going to go line by line and fix all of those cases. So here it's not model, it's model.count on line 52. It is, yes, there's going to be lots of places like this where we no longer can just set the model to an int. We're going to set the model to a new record. That new record will be our old record. If you remember the syntax from our previous video, the old record with some fields changed. So our count is now going to be model.count plus 1. And similarly for minus. And we'll need to update it here as well. Okay, now it's around line 35. There's a problem. Yes, we're initializing to an integer, but we need to initialize this entire record. So our count is still going to start at 0. Our error, we don't have an error yet, but it's a maybe error, so we can just say that's a nothing, and it compiles. We now can put an error in our model. So where would we do that? We would do that down here in our update function in this got count when the count is an error value. So we'll say our model is going to be our old model, but with the error updated to be, and that's going to be based off of this error that we capture here. So when this error is, and remember this is a web storage read error. I believe at least one of those variants was called no value. So if we see that, we're going to set it to our own custom no value variant. I'm going to go ahead and, oh, also it was a maybe. We don't want to set it to the actual error. We need to set it to a maybe error. So we're going to use initialize a just variant here that's going to hold the no value. And, okay. I saved again because I didn't want to have to think about, okay, what are all the rest of the variants I need to cover. Gren's got my back there, and it says, oh, you didn't cover the case where it's a read blocked error, in which case I want to use my storage disabled variant, and it compiles. So we're setting it, we're now storing it in the model, but we're not doing anything with it. So let's do something with it. And I'll add a paragraph to my div that's not going to have any attributes, but it is going to hold some kind of message. And we'll say that it's going to be some text. And that text will be based off of what's in my error field on my model. So I'm going to pass. So if this little arrow function, I covered something similar to this in a previous video. The thing I covered looked like that, where whatever value was on the left would be passed as a parameter to the function on the right. This is just the opposite. Whatever value is on the right will be passed as a variant to the function on the left. So our text function. So we need to come up with a string based off of our error here. So when that error is nothing, then we're good. Let's just not put anything. And if it's just an actual error value, let's customize the message based off of what our error actually is. So when the error is no value, we'll say nothing in local storage. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and save and let Gren tell me what the rest of my variants I need to cover are, and that's storage disabled. Local storage is disabled, and storage full. I mean, these aren't really real-world error messages, but you get the idea. Okay, it compiles. Let's go look at our app. Nothing in local storage. Great. It still works. All right, and in the next video, we'll actually put something in local storage and see if we can pull it back out.